Good afternoon, everyone. This is Father Zarse, your pastor speaking, coming from my heart and my home to your heart and your home with the first of our Fireside chats. So this Sunday, the fifth Sunday of Lent, I want to take a hard look at the next deadly sin on our list, which is envy. So for the last few weeks, we've been looking at some of the other capital sins and tying them into the gospel. So we've looked at pride, we've looked at anger, we've looked at lust and gluttony, and now I want to transition into the deadly sin of envy. So envy. First of all, I want to give a couple examples of what envy looks like from my own life, because unfortunately, it's pretty embarrassing, but I'm really pretty well versed in the deadly sin of envy. So I remember this first manifested in my life when I was a little boy. So I'm the oldest of 5 children, and when I was a little boy, it just seemed like no matter what I did, my younger siblings, they always outperformed me. Whether it was in the classroom with their grade point average or it was on the soccer field, they always seemed to outshine the older brother. And there was just this anger and this envy and this sorrow, this grief that would rise in my heart. And rather than celebrating all of their hard works and celebrating their accomplishments as a student, I got really sad. So it's embarrassing. Envy is a really embarrassing sin, but it's one that I've always been very well acquainted with. But it didn't stop as a child. It's continued even as a priest, which again is super embarrassing. Because sometimes I look at a brother priest and I think, my gosh, he's really good with numbers. He's really good with finances. Or I'll look at another brother priest and say, he's able to remember everybody's name. My gosh, look at his social graces. Or a third priest and say, he's a really good teacher. He's a really good administrator. He's a really good evangelist. So again, with envy as a deadly sin, what happens is it robs us of our joy. It makes us sad in the face of another's gifts, talents, their pedigree, their attributes, which are a gift from God. So instead of being sad about this, the alternative is generosity, right? To extend a compliment, to extend a smile, to extend a kind word. And I feel like during this season of lockdown, this is something that we can practice in our homes, right? Rather than giving in to sibling rivalry, rather than giving in to bickering, right, as a married couple, because it's like we're just living on top of each other, right, because of the lockdown, which has come down from the governor and from the president and the rest. Instead, is it possible to celebrate each other's gifts, to compliment each other's talent, and to build each other up in love? That's, I think, what Jesus wants. So, having said that about the next deadly sin, now I want to transition into the gospel. So Jesus, in today's gospel, he raises his friend Lazarus after 4 days from the dead. And I think part of what he's demonstrating here, remember, he got word from Martha and Mary before Lazarus died that he was sick. So if he had dropped everything and run, he might have been able to get to Bethany before he died. But he doesn't do this. And it's because he came to save us from something greater than even death, and that's sin. So he came to save us from sin rather than just from suffering. So he allows his friend to die, he allows his friend to be buried, and 4 days later he shows up. So after raising his friend from the dead, now all of a sudden this is like one of the most tremendous signs in John's gospel. Now the Jewish authorities have got some serious problems, right? Because not only is Jesus raising people from the dead, walking on water, multiplying the loaves and the fish, not only is he offering this poetic, beautiful wisdom, his teaching in the Sermon on the Mount and the Bread of Life discourse, not only is he adding to the law of Moses, but he's also performing these signs that seem to demonstrate that God is with him. And so they make a decision in part based on envy of his gifts, envy of his talent, envy of his wisdom, envy of his power. They decide they have to kill him. Envy is a tremendous ingredient in what leads them to decide we're going to kill him. Because we can't allow him to be named king or the Christ. And if we don't step in and do something right now, the children of Israel are going to name him Christ and King. So again, this is part of where I see the deadly sin of envy factoring into the readings, factoring into my life, maybe factoring into your family, especially during this very difficult season of lockdown. But bring all of that to Jesus. Bring it to prayer. Bring it to the rosary if you're praying the rosary as a family. Be praying together. We need to pray more, not less. And I think we also need to try to be offering compliments and a kind word more often and not less. Because at this point, we are all over each other. We're on top of each other because we can't get away from each other living in the same home during this season of lockdown. So for now, we'll leave it there. This is the first of my fireside chats on this 5th Sunday of Lent as we continue moving forward towards Palm Sunday and the Sacred Triduum on our way to Easter Sunday.